If you love classics like we do, then you're going to love what our friends over at Best Classics Ever are giving away this month.
Through December 30th, they're giving away Amazon Fire streaming sticks, free 30-day, 60-day, and annual subscriptions.
Plus, one grand prize winner is going to get a lifetime subscription. You can enter to win on the Best Classics Ever Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter pages, or you can enter at bestclassicsever.com.
And if you go there, be sure to check out episodes of our show, The Matinee, streaming free in their Hollywood Canteen section.
Hello there, I'm Colleen.
I'm Anders.
And I'm Daniel.
We're three nerds that met through our love of science fiction and fantasy storytelling. Of course, one of our favorites is George Lucas's signature achievement, Star Wars.
And if there's one thing the internet definitely doesn't have enough of, it's nerds talking about Star Wars. So here we are with yet another Star Wars podcast, where each week we discuss one of the films in the current Star Wars canon.
From the sands of Tatooine to the levels of Coruscant, we cover it all. Yet another Star Wars podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and is part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
That's a raccoon, yo. What are you doing?
Feeding the raccoon.
It's a trash panda. When the three burglars thing happens.
Oh, and they're all saying the same line.
Yes. No, notice, Jeb, that when they put their hats on, I'm not going to be able to see facial expressions. So that's on you, man. That's on you. Okay, camera rolling.
Yeah, I get it. Can I get an interview about Betsy's wedding? No, anything but that.
Get
Anything
lost.
But that? Anything but that.
Get my hat.
Hi, I'm Mike Butler.
I'm Mike Field.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. Each episode, we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the film simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or maybe don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. If you enjoy our podcast, please feel free to rate, review, and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now.
They could be listening on Facebook because we are now on Facebook.
Whoa, that's right. Facebook, don't steal our stuff.
Well, too late. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. A little tired.
A little tired.
A little piece of lemon pound cake.
You
I
got
had some coffee.
Yeah.
So I should be good.
You could be tired. You got coffee there. Come on,
good.
drink it down. Little pumpkin coffee. Little pumpkin coffee this holiday season. Now let's talk about the Pagemaster.
This is the last. I did find there was a couple of recommendations when I looked for Pagemaster, but this is the last animated movie on our list, I believe.
Okay, yeah. Well, we haven't really added to the list too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, anyways. A storm forces frightened Richard Tyler inside a nearby library for shelter. Mr. Dewey, the librarian, sees that Richard needs an adventure and tries to give the boy a book, but all Richard wants is a phone. Before he can call his parents, Richard slips on the floor, hits his head, and passes out. When he wakes up, he finds himself in a fantasy land populated by famous literary characters.
That's an okay synopsis.
Yeah, it's just okay for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it is what it is. Sorry. All right. So the Pagemaster has a runtime of 80 minutes, which is something I appreciated. Rated G. Production budget differs depending upon what you read online, and you can go from 27 million to 34 million, which is probably just kind of like the difficulties of animation and live action and CGI and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Release date was November 23rd, 1994. That is a Wednesday, which is probably because that is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So this is a Thanksgiving Day release, or Thanksgiving holiday release, excuse me. Opening weekend, it did $4 million. Domestic and worldwide are the same, 13.6 million. So yeah, did not fare well in the box office there.
I wonder what came out against it.
Well, I'm not to that point yet, but all right, I will get to that point. So I said it came out on the 23rd on a Wednesday. It came up against Junior, the Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger gets pregnant movie.
Oh yeah.
You also had a limited release that weekend, Love in a 45 and Mrs. Parker and the Vicious Circle on the 25th, which is the Friday after Thanksgiving, which is very rare for a movie to come out then. They don't really do it now. Was a Low Down Dirty Shame. That is with not Damon Wayans. I'm blanking on his name. This is what happens when you get old. Names escape you.
It's Keenan.
Oh, okay.
And Charles S. Dutton. Keenan Ivory Wayans.
Yes. See, that's what happens. Names escape you when you get older.
It's literally the guy that created In Living Color.
Yes, I know. That's why I said it.
You said one of the big guys.
That's what I meant. I meant one, but like I can picture the poster in my head. I just blanking on names. So that was that week of Thanksgiving. The week after, which is December 2nd, you had Trapped in Paradise, a Nicolas Cage comedy with Dana Carvey and John Lovitz. And you had a limited release Cobb that stars Tommy Lee Jones as Tyler Cobb. Tommy Lee Jones as Ty Cobb, excuse me. And then you had 18th of November, which is the week before the Pagemaster opens. You had Star Trek Generations, Butler.
Oh, yeah.
The Swan Princess, Miracle on 34th Street, and now it's called Leon the Professional, but when it came out, it was called The Professional. I mean, The Professional is a really good movie. I would say that its biggest, Star Trek was probably its biggest competition.
Star Trek and Miracle on 34th Street.
Definitely, yeah. Especially with the kid in Miracle on 34th Street, absolutely. You had a production company of Colbath, Hanna-Barbera, Fox Family Films, and Turner Feature Animation. And this movie was distributed by 20th Century Fox. And it was directed, there's two directors. There's one for the live action segments and then one for the animation segments. And the live action segments were directed by Joe Johnston, who's done The Rocketeer, October Sky, Jurassic Park 3. And the animation was directed by Maurice Hunt. He's actually, he's now Pixote Hunt. He changed his name, or that's what his stage name is. He is mainly an art director. He did art direction for Rescues Down Under, Tarzan, and Fantasia 2000. Now you had a couple screenplay credits. You had a story and screenplay credit for David Kirshner, who's also one of the producers on this. He has done the TV show Earth, the Final Conflict. He did American Tail. He wrote the story for An American Tail and for Hocus Pocus. And I believe he's doing Hocus Pocus 2, or he's developing it. He's also a producer for the Chucky, for the Child's Play franchise. Well, I guess he's credited as being either one of or the creator of the Chucky doll.
Huh.
But I think we had a note about either him or somebody else about the Chucky doll in an episode far back.
I feel like you're right.
Yeah. But yeah, so you also had a story and screenplay credit by David Kashi, who did Severed. The only movie he really did was Severed Ties. And then there's a screenplay credit by Ernie Contreras, who's done the TV show Smurfs, the 80s show Smurfs, and Fairy Tale: A True Story. We'll get into some of the writing stuff later because I do have some notes on some of the writing because there was a WGA contested issue along with this movie. So that's when we dive deep.
Scandal.
We'll get it. Exactly. Cinematography by Alexander Grosinski, who did Tremors, The Craft, and Nancy Drew. Composer by James Horner, who passed away in 2015. He obviously won an Oscar for Titanic, and he was nominated for an Oscar for Braveheart and Apollo 13. This score, which we can get into later, is very familiar to me. And
that's because this score is used in every movie trailer after this.
Okay, so we'll get into it. Oh,
that's my very first note in this for this film.
We'll get into it. Let me go through the credits. Edited by Dan Molina, who did The Land Before Time and Planes, Fire, and Rescue. And then alongside David Kirshner, you had Paul Gertz and Michael R. Joyce were producers. Gertz has done Cats Don't Dance, and he was an executive producer on another episode that we did, Titan AE, that movie. Remember Butler?
I do remember.
Joyce has done was a co-producer for No Escape, and he was a consulting producer for the Battlestar Galactica, the first two episodes, which tells me he did the initial movie, because that was this is the TV show, the new one, not the older Galactica, the one that came out on Sci-Fi probably more than 10, 15 years ago, right? 20?
Yeah, probably.
Probably
over 10 years ago now.
Yeah. So Richard Tyler is the lead. He's played by Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone, Saved, and I guess he's on the new or the last season of the American Horror Story.
Yeah, apparently he is.
Christopher Lloyd as Mr. Dewey and the Pagemaster. He obviously, you should probably all know who he is from Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the TV show Taxi. He's actually in the upcoming movie The Tender Bar, which the trailer just came out as we're recording this past week. Ed Begley Jr. as Alan Tyler, the dad from the TV show St. Elsewhere, Mighty Wind, and Best in Show. Mel Harris as Claire Tyler, mom. She is in 30-something, a TV show, and Stargate SG-1, which I've never seen, and the movie Raising Cain. Whoopi Goldberg is a voice talent here for the fantasy book, or Fantasy. She has won an Oscar for Ghost, and she was nominated for the movie The Color Purple. She's also in Sister Act 1, 2, and the upcoming 3. Get ready.
And she's in Star Trek Generations as Kainen.
You know who else is in Star Trek Generations? Patrick Stewart, who plays Adventure. He is, he's a Star Trek guy. So it's Jean-Luc Picard. Frank Welker as Horror. He's a wildly known voice talent for Scooby-Doo. He plays actually Scooby-Doo, and he's Optimus Prime in the Transformers, right?
No, he's Starscream.
Okay.
And I think he might have been Megatron.
Is he Megatron?
No, he's just Shockwave and Soundwave.
Oh, okay. Well, then you were wrong. on
He
both
played
counts.
Galvatron, the bad guy in the newest movie.
Okay. Leonard Nimoy as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Obviously, Star Trek fans know who Leonard Nimoy is, Spock. And then I have one cameo credit or one small credit for Phil Hartman's in this movie. He plays Tom Morgan. We did an episode where Phil Hartman, which was Greedy, a couple seasons ago.
Yep. And he was also in So I Married an Axe Murderer.
That's
one
correct.
Of my favorite scenes.
That's correct. All right. So we both had already seen this film. Butler was obviously a young child when he saw this film.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it when it was in theaters?
I'm trying to remember if I did. I know I saw Miracle on 34th Street in
You're
theaters.
6 at this point, though, right?
6 or...
Well, 88, right? I already did the math. If you were born in 88.
I'm 7.
You're 7. Okay, you're
I'm
born in 87.
87,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So
Would you even remember it that far ago?
I remembered parts of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I have this movie on VHS somewhere in my parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I've watched it a few times, but obviously not when I was, 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever.
Right.
But I don't remember I think I saw this in the theaters, but I also know I saw Miracle on 34th Street, the remake. So I don't know if my parents took me, 2 in a row. That was very rare when I was younger for 2 kids movies in a row.
Right. Yeah. So
Actually, it would have been 3 because I would have seen I saw Generations in theaters, and then I would have seen Miracle. Yeah, I definitely didn't see this in theaters.
Well, this movie took one of the. I remember seeing this film in the theaters, or did I? I must have. I must have seen this movie in the theaters. Maybe I had to screen it or something when I was working at the theater because this was 94, so I was at the Fourplex, and this is probably right what we would get. So one of the things that I remember when I watched this film was that. So Macaulay Culkin's on the screen, but he's so young because this movie took 3.5 years to complete because they shot his stuff in 1992. And it's really difficult to watch this because the year prior in 93, he just came out in The Good Son where he's the bad, or it's like the
bad guy.
Yeah. He's like the thriller horror where he's like going to kill Elijah Wood and he's like this like evil seed kid. And he's like, and like, it's like not. And so he's aged, and then this movie comes out, and you're just like, what is this? That was really off-putting. I think that was one of the things that kind of I remember back then, just because it took so long to make this film, primarily because you got to wait for the animation. So
right.
It might have been better to do the animation first, then the live action, but it's also Macaulay Culkin is like, he's like the hottest thing going after Home Alone. So it's like, they wanted to get him in everything.
Well, the other thing is when you have a young actor like that, if you want to match him to his counterpart, his animated counterpart, you kind of have to do the live action first to kind of freeze him in time in a way.
And you really can't do this movie without a name in the lead role. Like if it was just someone's first film that you didn't know, I don't think this movie would have done the business it even did, even though it wasn't a lot.
Yeah, it would have been the direct-to-video or like a Nickelodeon original movie or something like that. Yeah,
right. So we talked briefly about the score. Now I know I had heard it because it was in every trailer, and I know that you can go online and you can find scores like in what trailers they're in. I could not find it.
Oh, really? I didn't know you could even do that.
There once was a website, and maybe I just imagined it, that you could check what music was being put in trailers and where was it from, and I couldn't find it. And I searched I searched the Pagemaster song. I searched for because it's the theme, and because as soon as it came out, I was like, oh, I've heard this before in trailers.
Right. Yep.
But I could not find just any kind of trailer, like a sample trailer to be like, oh, remember this trailer was in that, and then but yeah, it is
it's very recognizable.
Yes.
It is a bit like the Dragonheart theme, which I think is also James Horner. But it was used in everything. It also was used in the Oscars a bunch too, I'm pretty sure.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Because I'm also pretty sure he composed a couple of the Oscars.
Well, you're going to get when you're a composer and you do a bunch of stuff, all your stuff's going to start sounding the same a little bit because you just use the same
pick it apart.
Yeah, which is fine. That is what it is. This is one of the first films to feature live action, traditional animation, and CGI animation all together. So, but the CGI part is the dragon, when the dragon becomes all the colors when they melt from the wall. Is that what we're saying? Is that the CGI part?
I assume, yeah. Well, it's definitely the paint dripping off the ceiling.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, all that stuff.
It's definitely there.
So I guess this is...
I mean, maybe they use some CG to assist them in the animation, but the animation all does look hand-drawn.
Oh yeah, once he gets into the
Once he gets into the world,
yeah. So I mean, I guess, do you want to get into the movie to start, or do you want me to go into the scandal?
Well, let's get into the scandal, because then maybe we can talk about that while we're talking about the movie.
Okay. So the whole issue with the film was that this movie was written for the screen by David Kashi, and it was based on a 6-page pitch by writer Charles Pogue. It was called In Library Days. So he took it, he wrote the script. And so then what ended up happening was that, Kirshner came in as producer and he started rewriting it. And he brought, his partner was Ernie Contreras, and they kind of like rewrote some of the script and kind of worked it in, whatever they did, whatever people do in Hollywood, which is usual. Well, what ended up happening was, because it was an animated film, they just put the poster out and they just put on there that they got rid of David Kashi's credit. They said it was just Kirshner attempted to claim sole authorship of the screenplay and the original story, not giving any credit to Kashi at all. Ooh. Because when you do credits, you submit them to the WGA for approval. That's the Writers Guild of America. In advance, so that you can put it on the poster and stuff like that.
Right.
But they didn't do that because they claimed that it was largely animation, and they didn't, the WGA had no jurisdiction over that. That's what they said. But, that's kind of bogus. So
I was going to say, the WGA doesn't have any jurisdiction.
No, they do. They're just, they're trying to like get through a loophole. So they had this long protracted, arbitration settlement. They had to do like interview and investigations to just kind of like figure out like who wrote what and stuff like that, and who determined credit. The WGA was just like, you have to give Kashi credit. Fox threatened to pull out of arbitration, just release the film without any of the approved credits. And then then the WGA would be forced to, file an injunction blocking the film's promoted Christmas season release. Like, it would just been this big thing. Finally, they agreed to a settlement. They gave both Kirshner and Kashi credit, both story and screenplay credit. And then Contreras also just gets a screenplay credit, which I talked about before. But like at that time, this case was like the most expensive and extensive investigation that the WGA had ever done for one of its members. So because there's like, when stuff comes up and you have to draw the line in the sand somewhere, because if you don't hear, they're just going to keep going.
Right. Yeah.
But like they even Kirshner and Contreras wrote a book, and it was illustrated by somebody else, that's based on the movie, and it contains passages that are directly from Kashi's screenplay, and they don't give him credit for the book either. So it's like, what is going on here? It was just like it was almost like a power move that didn't work almost.
I read that there were 2 books made for the film.
Yeah.
The junior book, I'm pretty sure my younger brother has.
Yeah.
Or had.
Well, there's a video game too, which I was going to look up, but I didn't. I totally forgot.
I think my cousin had the video game, but that's probably on that retro game site. You could probably play that.
Right. So, following that great news, I'll give you another nice piece of news. So Joe Johnston, I told you, directed the live action stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He crossed the Pagemaster off his resume because he claims the film was re-edited without his consent.
Really?
So they re-edited what he had done without checking in with him, I guess, or something like that. But my question is, do you have final edit? I mean, like, I get you want some, hey, Joe, we got to change this.
Yeah.
But do you have final edit? So if you don't have final edit.
I mean, the movie's largely animation, so I would imagine that Pixote?
Well, is Maurice Hunt at the time.
I would imagine that he's got more say over what the final edit is than Joe Johnston. Well, those are just bookends, really, I feel.
Well, I mean, they're two different. It's 2 different sentimentalities in terms of just, animation direction and live action direction. But still, my question would be just for Joe, Mr. Johnson, excuse me. If you didn't have final credit, I get maybe you feel like you're spurned because they didn't say, hey, we wanted to check in with you. Maybe they just did it.
Yeah.
They don't have to check with you. They don't have to check with you. That's whatever it is. But like, there's already a lot of, this is like the last animated movie we did was Titan AE.
Which also had
and there was tons of problems in that one. So like, this is another movie where we just have tons of problems. I guess I talked about the production budget of $27 million, $34 million. I guess the film went over budget during the animation production because of, and this is obviously somebody who works within the process of mismanagement and changes to the story during the process. So like as they were animating the movie, they were changing the story.
Can you imagine doing all this by hand?
Yeah, I know, right?
I've got 800 pages for a second of film, and I'm writing, my hands cramped. I'm wearing like a wrap, and then somebody comes in and go, yo, they changed the scene. Taking all my papers and just throwing them all over the room.
Oh, that would be terrible.
It's just because we talk about like how hard stop motion is when we talked about Frankenweenie.
Mm-hmm.
But like hand-drawn animation is just the same kind of thing, like bit by bit, page by page.
Mm-hmm.
And like when things get changed on you like that, it's got to be tough.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. So now that we've kind of given you a little bit of a background of what's going on behind the scenes, why don't we talk about what's on the screen?
All right. Nice segue. I like that.
Why don't you start us off?
All right. I like this movie.
Mhm.
This movie is definitely not perfect. It's definitely not great. But what I like about this movie is it's quick, it's short, and it's to the point.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't meander. There's no scene where they fly through a nebula for no reason, like in Titan A. It's just like, why is this here? It's got nice themes. It's very simple. It definitely skews very, very young.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if that's what you're going for, that's what you're going for. I think you could remake this or a similar story and really kind of do a much better, more nuanced kind of film that could be for both adults and children. But I think this movie gets its point across, and I think it does what it needs to do. And I'm surprised it made so little, well, because it went up against Miracle on 34th Street and stuff. I think if it wasn't against such hardcore kind of like holiday fare, the amount of times you could show this movie in a day at the theater, that's what I was thinking of when I was watching it.
I got you.
You could play this 6-7 times in a day if you're open,
Yeah.
10 to 11.
You'd complain about that, but yeah.
I complain about it now, absolutely. But you could definitely pack in so many different showings of this film.
Yeah.
But I like it.
Okay. I don't.
I figured you wouldn't like it. You've got no child left in you.
No, that's not true. It's like one of those, I think I've talked about it before. 2 points. One, I remember really liking Never Ending Story when I was growing up, and The Secret of Nim. I like those two movies. And then I remember we watched them one day. This is a long time ago. And for me, they didn't hold up. I was just like, I don't like this anymore. Like, and maybe because I got older, whatever. It just didn't hold up. I can watch the first Toy Story now and be like, wow, that animation's not as great as it is, in Toy Story 4 moving on, but
right.
I still like the Toy Story story. My second point is that because I've seen animated movies done so well now, I mean, I can't really fall back on, well, it's for kids, because I've seen a movie that has done really well and it's for kids. And like, I think it's awesome. I understand. I get the themes and what they're trying to say. And I get that's really the most important part of the movie in terms of a child watching it. I get all that. Never mind the fact that, fantasy emasculates adventure by putting him in a dress at the end with them. But whatever, we'll move on from that, because that ain't going to happen now.
That's the 90s, man.
I get it. I get it. I understand that. I felt like everything that I talked about happening behind the scenes, I felt like after I watched the movie and then when I started doing the notes, like I was like, I can see it all on screen. Like I can see just the missteps, the mismanagement. Like it just felt, it was just blah. It was just kind of like, like and I can get into the nitpicking stuff, but like we talk about when you watch a movie and there's little pieces that it doesn't all start adding up, you just start noticing everything else that just doesn't make any sense.
Oh, sure.
Like the fact that the kids that are bicycling that at the end, he jumps over that huge thing at the end. Like, yeah, I did it. It's like, the whole street's blocked off. Like, nobody can drive? The street's blocked off. Like, what are we doing here? Like that was one thing. I was just like, this is the fact that his parents are the worst parents. Hey, run down to the hardware store for me and get me some nails. Where is this hardware store? Because this kid is like
18 miles away.
This kid's on bike. He's 10 years old and he's just like, yeah, go get him. You got him, right? And it's like, where is he going? Never mind the fact that it starts pouring rain. I mean, I get it. It's the storm. Maybe they didn't know the storm was coming. But how about at the end of the movie when they find him in the treehouse and they're like, yeah, let him stay up here and sleep the night. There's no railing. So he could just roll over and roll off. His parents are the worst parents.
My note in the live action stuff is I would be really scared of everything too if God was after me, because God is clearly after this kid with the lightning just coming after him as it's going. I'm like, something is clearly trying to kill this kid.
I know I was being nitpicky there and being kind of like, just having some fun. But one of the big things, and I wanted to ask you, and I wanted to know if this made any sense to you, was he needs to gain courage, right? He needs to be somebody who have an adventure, but somebody who's not afraid of
everything,
basically. Because they make it seem like he breaks down everything. When you read, like, you get into like the bigger synopsis, like he's somebody who's into statistics and the statistical data of what everything can hurt, but he's afraid to get hurt. That's what it is. He's afraid to get banged up. It's like Fight Club. But is it really believable that he becomes animated and he gets into this whole thing and he's going to have all this bravery and then he's in the real world? How does that really translate, that courage that when you're animated to reality? Does that really translate? I mean, I know I'm being literal because obviously, you could go either way, whether he dreamed it or whether he really did enter the portal of the Pagemaster.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you really buy that?
Sure. I mean, his big courage was he went up in the treehouse and he did a jump. He's not going to beat up the bullies. He's not facing the bullies at the end. It's just small steps of courage.
Those kids weren't bullies, but they were so stupid. Hey, look at you, dork. It's like, all right, dude, relax. You're jumping with BMX bikes. Calm down.
BMX bikes were the thing back then.
That's true.
But no, I think it's small steps of courage. Like he's just doing the jump. He's going in the treehouse. He's not confronting anybody. So it's not like he became like this hero in real life. He didn't fight. He's not fighting dragons in real life. He's not standing up to anybody. But yeah, I mean, that's what the movie's trying to say. It's a kid's movie, man. It's
see, that's the thing.
I know you've seen things done better, but
that's what I'm saying.
After this, and
no, I get it. You're saying if I'm supposed to judge this movie based upon the time that it came out, in terms of like, I don't know
you don't know that Pixar is going to completely change everything.
I got you, but I would still tell you that my initial reaction to that was the fact that Macaulay Culkin was so young, right? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And it was just, and I thought the animation wasn't fantastic.
I think the animation is well done, but it clearly doesn't have Disney money behind it.
His face is weird at times. Like he's got these
it's the miscolored and weird.
Yes.
It's very what's the movie we did with the dogs?
All Dogs Go to Heaven?
No, we did.
All Dogs Go to Heaven too?
We covered the movie. The one with Billy Joel.
Oliver and Company.
In Oliver and Company, there were similar things with the animation as well. I think when you don't have as big of a budget, when you don't put that was Disney. I think when you don't put enough, money into it, maybe like there's a second pass or a third pass that goes over it, you get good animation, but you get these flaws in, like you said, his head. I noticed the colors of different parts of his body and his skin kind of looked weird.
His lips looked like they had lipstick on there because they were so red compared to the paleness of his face. Right. It was really like it was off-putting. It was just like you like, oh, what is that?
I think that's also part of the animation. That's also the drawing style of some of the non-Disney movies.
I got you.
Like Ferngully was kind of similar to that and stuff like that.
Right.
I think that's more just who's drawing it and what companies they're using.
Right.
Because this is Fox. and we talked about Fox in Titan AE was using multiple different.
Well, Fox is the producer, but I guess Fox Family Films. This is technically Turner Feature Animations movie. And I guess one of the notes I read was that this movie, because it didn't do well, it kind of set back Turner Feature Animation a little bit.
I like Titan AE. Fox Animation.
I guess Frankenstein's monster was supposed to be in the film.
Yeah, I guess he's in the promotion material.
Trailers. He didn't make the final cut, but he was in the trailers, the promos. He's in the deleted scenes, the behind the scenes. He's even in the video game. Where would he have been in the movie? You think after Jekyll and Hyde?
Probably after would be my guess. Maybe before or maybe during. He's probably in the castle. I mean, Horror the book is kind of Igor. Although they say he's based on Quasimodo.
Yeah,
but he's more,
because he has a humpback or whatever it is.
Sure. And he says sanctuary when he's getting
yeah.
But he's really like Dr.
He talks like Igor.
Igor, yeah. He's his like servant. Yeah. So I can see Frankenstein having
it's like Frank Welker came up like, I'm going to do an Igor accent. Yeah, but you're really just a hunchback. No, I'm going to do the Igor accent. All right. See,
I don't think they were given equal time either. The three books,
or the three tests, whatever they were.
Yeah,
so there's always three tests. There's
horror,
always three
fantasy,
tests.
and adventure.
Yeah,
but horror really took a backseat to the other three, which I kind of get because it's a kids movie. But kids movies back then, you had the Halloween tree around the same time, and the Halloween tree is super frightening for kids.
Well, maybe you talked about how we just said that Frankenstein monster was kicked out, or edited out. Maybe
it was too scary.
horror was. Maybe he was with because the first quote unquote test is the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and that's technically horror,
right?
So maybe he was there. So I don't know. I just. The one thing I keep thinking about, the one word I keep thinking about when I watch this film, and after when we read all the facts and just learning about it, it felt very lazy. It just felt everything was just very lazy. Like the story was just lazy and blah. And I'm not putting that on. I mean, the fact that we talked about the battle between the screenwriter and how they changed it. Like, I'm curious, like what the 6-page pitch called Library Days was actually really about.
Well, I was going to say, when you mentioned this, I was going to make an offhand comment that's pretty much the size of the script.
Seriously. Yeah.
It's such a short movie.
Like it feels like halfway through this, we're just like, all right, what are we doing here? We got to just end this. Let's just figure a way to end this.
It almost seems like it was made for TV and they decided to keep it a movie.
Yeah,
they were going to sell it to Disney or Nickelodeon or one of the kids' networks, and then they went, let's put it out.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like it. It does feel like that.
Yeah, and like he's at the library, and nobody else. Does nobody go to the libraries in the 90s?
It's like this looking library.
It's the museum in LA. I think they shot at. It's not technically. Yeah, it's like this. Like
the library bookshelves are clearly filled with binders. Because I noticed, I'm like, those aren't books. Those are just Staples binders.
I know the grid. I know what binder every child needs.
Look at this. There's no pages in here. I didn't need pages to make the bookshelf look full. Did you feel like the live action moments actually just kind of felt like the start of like a Michael Jackson music video?
Yeah, it was. They were so quick. They didn't feel like
didn't feel polished or professional, like movie was. They didn't feel like a movie. They felt like a music video or like a TV movie.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
just the way they looked and were shot.
I mean, you got to figure that stuff was what, a couple days shoot. Like
couldn't be too long.
Yeah, probably a week shoot, and maybe it was just kind of like in between shooting other movies, and it all feels like. This movie just feels like, you're not working on Aladdin, or whatever the 90. What was the Disney movie in 94 or 95? Lion King, right? Lion King was 94, right?
Probably Lion King, yeah.
So they're probably like, you're not working on Lion King, just go work on Pagemaster. Like it's like that. It's like it feels like the movie that you couldn't get the job you wanted. Hey, they have positions open on the Pagemaster. Why don't you just go work there? Like, that's what it feels like. It just feels like the C crew is on this. I'm sorry.
The ones that didn't get hired by Disney.
Seriously. It's like, listen, we're looking for Lion King material, and you're more Pagemaster. Like, it just feels like that.
Do you think animators go up the steps to Disney, get rejected, go down the steps and across the street to Fox?
Seriously, yeah. Like, honestly, like if you can't get a job at Pixar, like where are you getting a job now? Like that kind of thing. It feels like that. And I hate to say that, but that's the sense I get from the movie. I just couldn't. My biggest note from this film that I didn't know Leonard Nimoy directed 3 Men and a Baby. Like that was the note I got. That was one of my notes. Like, oh, he did that? I didn't even know that.
Did you know Patrick Stewart and Guinan recorded their lines together?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, they might. Well,
I thought it was weird not to have horror in the room too, though. At least.
Well, they probably. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did this on the set of Generations.
All right, and cut. All right, we've got to go in there and record a couple of lines.
I know, right? But Patrick Stewart probably thought he was the hottest thing going. Oh, I'm doing an animated movie. I'm doing Star Trek Generations. Stars are rising.
Oh, Patrick. Nope.
What are you talking about? He's all right.
He did a lot of.
He's an X-Men.
He did do X-Men, yeah.
No.
He did. He probably did Conspiracy Theory around this time too.
Patrick Stewart ain't hurting. He's fine. He's good. Neither is Whoopi Goldberg. But I just feels meh.
I'm not surprised that you did not like this film.
I'm surprised that you. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I get it. It's a kid's. You watched it when you were younger, and you have an attachment to it.
I know what it was like to. I know what it was like to have watched it at 8 years old.
Sure.
In 1994.
Sure.
Or 7 years old. But you watched it. You were, forced to watch it for work. 12 years old.
I don't remember. I know I watched it in the theater. I just don't know if it was a screening or not. But that makes sense that it was a screening. I mean, listen. When I was 8 years old, I was watching Return of the Jet. I'm just kidding.
I was watching stuff like that too. But when it came to an animated movie, it didn't take much. I mean, it did what it needed to do. It keeps your interest. kept my brother's interest, and he never liked movies because it's so short. It works.
Yeah. Well, well, like this is the kind of movie that you're like, you're going to someone's birthday party. Like, yeah, we're going to go see a movie and then we're going to go Chuck E. Cheese after. And it's like, what's movie? Oh, the Pagemaster. You're just like, all right, I'll just get through that so I can just go to Chuck E. Cheese. Like, it was just like, it just feels like it's not like, that's not the headliner of the day is going to see the Pagemaster. It's whatever else you're doing. I don't know.
Getting the Happy Meal toy afterward. Always getting the Happy Meal toy afterward.
Like, I know we famously had our, the Rango episode where like I was just kind of like, well, the first time we did it, but then the second time I just didn't like it.
I'll never hear that first Rango episode.
But I wasn't connected.
I've recovered it and I'll still never release it.
But but I could still appreciate my critique of Rango wasn't that it looked terrible or lazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
This Pagemaster just feels. Macaulay Culkin's hot right now. We got to get him in everything we can. Let's go. And it just feels like that. It just, I don't know. Like he looks more in this movie. What's funny is that he's in Home Alone 1990 that comes out.
He looks younger in here than he did in Home Alone.
And here he looks like he's from Uncle Buck, like when he was in Uncle Buck. Like that's what it feels like.
I thought the same thing. I was like, when was this filmed? I had to look it up because I was like, he still looks younger than Home Alone, but Home Alone was before this.
This was filmed, live action was filmed September of 92. As this says, so September 21st of 90. What I have here is, this says September 21st, 1992 to October 15th, 1992. Are you telling me that this thing took 4 weeks to shoot 10 minutes of stuff? Really? I don't buy that, but
maybe it took weeks to get him to that killer jump.
You got to make the jump. We're going to do it again. We're going to do it again and again and again.
Again.
Joe Johnston, the Stanley Kubrick of kids films.
I'm doing a submarine movie after this. I need to practice. I need to practice my stunts.
Yeah, I don't know. Give me something I can't argue with, I guess.
That you can't argue with?
Like I can't like you're that point is unarguable, and like I have to like that point absolutely.
But the music is really good. Except the song. The song is kind of
the score. Yes,
the score is great.
The songs, like the one they sing in the middle of the movie.
I'm pretty sure it's the same song,
is
just
it?
in different parts.
No, because when I looked at the credits, there's one song that says end credit song, or maybe that was the second end credit song. I'm not sure. No, the songs are terrible. Babyface did the songs are terrible.
They're trying to be like
Disney, like with all where all the 90s like Aladdin, and there's this good thing, the magic carpet that she pulls out of the book for Arabian Nights. It's like, what is this, Aladdin?
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, how did Disney, super litigious Disney, not go, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
they probably only didn't sue because they saw how much the movie meant. Oh, we're good. Well,
I guess all the books and all the stuff that they were using were specifically royalty free because they were the copyright had expired.
They're older books, yeah.
Right. So they technically can use all that stuff, but yeah, you would Aladdin in 93,
just a couple years before. Yeah.
And all of a sudden the thing comes out. I go, what? my quote was Aladdin much? I mean, give me a break here.
My quote is they couldn't get anything else. They didn't think, hey, people have just saw that in Aladdin.
And then clearly Fantasy farts sprinkles on Adventure at one point.
I was okay with that.
I was but I'm like, what's going on here?
Her magic is very kind of in and out.
Yeah.
The one thing I do really like in the movie is as they're walking through the library, because all the zones are still part of like the library, the books all have titles on them. And if you look really closely, you can see like The Shining or like 1,000 Leagues Under the Sea and stuff like that, or 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea. You can see all the different book names if you really pay attention close to the bookshelf. And I was like, oh, that's kind of clever.
Yeah. But that's like, like I remember like animation used to be, everything was still frame and you knew what was going to move because it was
colored.
Yeah. So that's probably just somebody drawing matte paintings.
That's the book that's going to open that shelf.
Exactly. I could not stand the line, when he's like, I'm a cartoon, he's like, you're an illustration. Like, what are you, a snob now? What is that? Like, no, you're not some stupid cartoon. I was like, okay, calm down, Pagemaster, calm down.
I'm not the cartoon master. No one calls me Toon Man. My first note when Adventure goes, when the kid's like, I can't use the ladder. Adventure's just like, oh, I got something for this. And he has a deadly killer squid. It's just like, that's his first idea to get the kid to climb the ladder.
I'm going to scare you up the ladder.
Oh, you better go, kid, or this thing's going to eat you.
You have crippling anxiety? Screw that. I'll fix it. Let me scare the living crap out of you.
Killer squid.
Yeah.
Rapey pirates.
That's like the running joke. Well, the running thing in yet another MCU podcast with Pat. Shout out. We always talk about how MCU handles mental illness. It's just kind of like when Tony Stark in Iron Man 3 is just like he's having PTSD and the kid's like, suck it up. You're an engineer. And he's just like, yeah, all right. It's like, well, that was easy. Like, it's just like countless times in the MCU, they just kind of like, they blow off mental illness with just a quick talk, a stern talking to, and that'll solve it.
Fixing his alcoholism by blowing up the bad guy.
Yeah.
And now I no longer have alcoholism.
Oh my God, I know. It's just like, all right, that's awfully nice and tidy, but all right.
Who needs AA?
Crippling PTSD, but you're an engineer. You know what? You're right. I'm cured. So Adventure's tactic to pull out the squid to scare out of anxiety would not work in real life.
He's actually in a fetal position right now and just basically a coma. He never wakes up from the cartoon.
I just want at the end of the movie, the parents come out during the credits and he's on the ground. He broke his leg because he rolled out of the
tree.
Yeah. Oh my God, what did we do? And like when the father's putting the nails in the beginning, you can see like there's like eight nails.
Got 8 nails. Yeah, he's just like take again.
Yeah, I get it. Like I multiple takes, but like, you know, how many nails does this floor need, Dad?
Super secure. He's got a really nervous kid.
Bring up the bucket of nails. Why is it on the rope? Why is it not up there with you already?
Yeah. It's also not a long climb. Just go down and get the bucket and get back up.
I know. Lazy. Again, lazy.
Yeah.
I know. You like it. You like it. But would you... well, okay. 10 years from now, let's say you decide to have a child.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You showing him the Pagemaster?
I don't know.
Yeah. You know,
I really don't know. Kids are so different now than like they have so much different stuff than when I was a kid that I don't know if I could show them any of the old.
But that's not true because I'll tell you right now.
Sure. You know, because you have 3 kids.
I do.
You've got practice.
My son loves, we watched Herbie Fully Loaded. He likes Herbie. He watches the older Herbies, the old ones from the 60s, and he loves them. He loves Herbie, but he loves them. So
Herbie the Love.
They don't care. They don't see. We all have preconceived. We all have biases and judgments already implanted in because stuff's old, and so it looks stupid. It doesn't look like the stuff now. That's us. That's our baggage. Kids don't have that baggage. What's funny is funny, and that's what works.
So that's why I'm trying to think about the Pagemaster like that.
Well, you wouldn't show them that, but if they caught the page, there's a difference between if they would watch it and they would like it. But I'm saying to you, hey, Dad, I want to watch a movie. Show me something that's a really good kids movie. Pagemaster ain't number 1 on the list.
It's not number 1 on the list, but I would still maybe show them if
it's not top 10.
Let's say if I was trying to get them to read, or if like I was trying to say I got to get them to do something, and like because it's got that theme, like books are cool and stuff like that. Maybe I'd show them. It's also short, so that in that way, again, that's perfect as well.
That's not perfect. You want the kid to just be mesmerized by the TV, so you can go do what you need to do.
Well, maybe
so you
if
need
I
a 2-hour film.
maybe if I only have a short amount of time to do something,
I got you.
I'm trying to fill in a gap. And it's just like, that's perfect. 1:15 basically with the credits.
Yeah.
Boom, done. But yeah, maybe. I mean, I liked this. I'm not saying it's perfect. I agree with all your flaws. I don't disagree that it's kind of lazy. It's definitely missing some stuff. I mean, Frankenstein's just cut all the way out of it. But at 8 years old, it kept me entertained and I enjoyed it. But yeah, I never wore out that VHS. I was always popping in the Disney movies over this. Mm-hmm. Again, if there's a choice between Aladdin or Lion King or Hercules or anything else, I would show them that over this.
Hercules, yeah.
I love Hercules.
I like Aladdin. I like the songs in Aladdin.
Aladdin's really good too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this isn't, again, not my top choice, but it's something different. Mm-hmm. But even then, if we're talking about other 90s movies that are animated, I'd probably show them Fern Gully over this as well. Mm-hmm. If we're talking about other 90s movies that weren't Disney.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
But I thought this was a good one, a deep dive, a deep cut, as it were. Definitely a forgotten film because no one really talks about the Pagemaster. And that's why I kind of picked it.
Why not, Butler?
I think it was short. I think it's kind of just kind of got glossed over. I mean, once it came out, it came out. When it first came out, there was so much promotional material for it, though. I'm pretty sure there were either Happy Meal toys or Burger King kids toys.
Pagemaster can't be a McDonald's one.
I'm pretty sure it was, but I'm not positive. But I'm almost positive there were like a Happy Meal toys with it.
Really?
Video games and books and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure there were even one of those sound books with the buttons on the side. But then afterward, it just kind of disappeared because, again, like we said, there's Disney movies that come out. And I'm sure there was a Disney movie at least, within 6 months after this film as well. It's the same year as Lion King. So it's just going to get overshadowed by all these Disney movies that come out.
Well, it wasn't Happy Meals. Pizza Hut.
Okay.
Tropicana Juice. Nabisco. So Nabisco, you could artwork for the Pagemaster was featured on 80 million packages of Nabisco cookies and crackers, certificates for a free Pagemaster t-shirt. Could be
million.
Yeah. They did Pizza Dow Brands, Texaco Oil. I don't know where you're going with that. Kellogg's and Turner Publishing. So they all know McDonald's.
Maybe it's like a Kellogg's toy then.
And I don't know if Pizza Hut is at the time, because I don't remember when Pepsi spun off to start owning Pizza Hut and because at some point Pepsi has always been in the drinks business, but then at one point they spun off and they have a different name. I can't remember the company off the top of my head.
They have a huge food,
and they own like Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, all that stuff.
Yep.
And Coca-Cola, to its credit, it's always just stayed with drinks. But yeah, no McDonald's stuff for Pagemaster. Sorry. Tropicana did posters and activity kits.
What did Kellogg's do?
In Canada, Kellogg's featured the movie on $10 million of the cereal. Pizza Hut had a holiday promotional campaign around the movie, so they did like ads for it and stuff like that. Ziploc bags. So yeah, I mean,
a little toy, but yeah,
you have a kids film. Well, I mean, I'm trying to look at. I'm not going to play it, but there's like I'm looking at Pagemaster Pizza Hut commercials here on YouTube.
Oh, the good old days.
Remember Pizza Hut? Yeah. So I don't. It's a kids movie. It's around the holiday time, so I get why you're gonna do. Obviously, you're gonna have promotions because you want, But I'm curious because we talked about before it came. Whatchamacallit? Miracle on 34th Street. That's kind of a kids film, I guess.
That's
right?
a kids film, yeah. Again, I definitely saw that in the theaters.
So November 11th, because this is 2 weeks before this Pagemaster, Santa Claus came out. The Santa Claus of Tim Allen.
That's definitely
exactly.
No, they're done.
So they get that 2 weeks. So they probably didn't even, finish in any of the top.
No way.
Yeah.
I remember
Santa Claus was huge.
Santa Claus came out was the first time we always went to the matinee showings. Yep. My family, for any movie we wanted to see, we went to the Santa Claus. It was sold out. It was so busy that my brother and I had to sit in the front of the theater together, separate from my parents. That was the first time that had to happen because my parents just had to find seats for everybody. And I think my parents ended up sitting separately too. And
then you had on the 21st, which is a Christmas film, but this film didn't do that much money either. You had Richie Rich, which stars Macaulay Culkin as well.
Richie Rich sucks.
No, I know. It was perfect casting because, it's like, oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
But they completely screwed up Richie Rich.
Yep. I even as a kid, I was like, this movie's not good.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's just not. But yeah, so basically the Santa Claus probably
trounced everything.
Let's see. The Santa Claus made, I'll give you a quick number estimate. Santa Claus made
$90 billion.
So I said, yeah, it was it opened. It's funny. It's not open number 2. It's opening weekend, but it was number 1 Thanksgiving Day weekend and the post Thanksgiving weekend. And so it made $20 million that weekend. It made $140 million total. Off of a $22 million budget. So yeah, Santa Claus was probably destroyed the Pagemaster. And that's probably why part of the reason it's forgotten. It's not, I don't think it's strong.
I don't think it was strong enough to be a holiday release.
Right. And 94 was the Santa Claus is a good movie. It's funny. It's good.
Is the Santa Claus also Fox?
Santa Claus is I just had it too. All right. We don't
That's
need
where
that.
I thought you were going with that.
No, I was, it was kind of, I guess, I don't know.
It's weird to be singing Christmas music when it's 70 degrees outside.
It is hot outside. Remember a few years ago. Christmas was like 75. I was out playing basketball in shorts. It was awesome.
I remember that.
No, Santa Claus is Disney. Santa Claus is Disney. Yeah,
Okay.
Walt Disney. I take it back. It made 145 million domestically, but with the worldwide gross, 190 million. Whew, nice. Woo.
It's a lot of money.
I made Tim Allen a lot of money, I'm sure. All right. So, like I said, I think Santa Claus probably made the Pagemaster forgotten. But also,
I made the
it's just-
Pagemaster.
I just don't think it's a strong film. And for whatever reason,
to live on. Yeah.
I get the attachment to it because you watched it when you're younger, and I'm not gonna. There's no fault in that, obviously. That goes without saying, but I said it anyways. So yeah, I just think it's just not. Yeah, skip it. Although we do say you should go back and rewatch everything, go ahead and rewatch it. But then you can tell me that I was right. So, all right, where can they find us?
You can find us at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. You know, Spotify, YouTube, I guess Facebook now. Wherever you listen to this podcast, go ahead and give us a like, a subscribe, a comment, all that kind of stuff. Helps our podcast grow, analytics and whatnot, and Field making dings in his
Apologies.
thing. Come on.
Making dings.
But yeah, check us out there and check out all of the other awesome podcasts at ForgottenEntertainment.com while you're there.
Hey, great news. AT&T paid off my current phone, and they think my name is Max. So that works too.
Hey, Max. Good job.
Join us next week. We're actually going to be going to the future from 94, only a few years ago, 2016. We're going to watch the movie The Founder, starring Michael Keaton, about Ray Kroc and the rise of McDonald's. Should be a good one. All right.
Get some fries before we do that episode.
Well, all right. Well, I guess I'll wait while I go get that. We'll see you next week on Mike Field.
No, you're Max.
I'm Max.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.